Good morning and welcome to another edition of the CannaList Conversations. Today we have two guests. We have Fabian Henry, who is the Senior Director at Veterans Housing Charity in Nova Scotia. And we are also joined with Trent Norbert from RAS, which is Replenish Around Shipping. Gentlemen, how are you?
Hey, Mike. We're great for having us on.
What's going on in Nova Scotia these days?
Well, Nova Scotia is a busy place in the veteran community. Yeah, we're making noise.
Why don't you guys give us a little bit of background on your respective programs?
Sure. So I'm the Senior Director of Operations at a charity called Veteran House Charity, and that's set up to support nonprofit groups like Trent's that are the boots on the ground doing the real work. So that's what the charity is. You know, a lot of big charities, they get in donations, but they don't give 100% of the donation back out. And we're designed to get in $1 and give out $1 and have overhead. So, and Trent can tell you a little bit about what he does.
So I run a Pillar 3 retreat, and we have a network as well to help veterans with their Veterans Affairs paperwork and any issues they have transitioning from active service to veteran life, which is we all know is a difficult task. So we have a Pillar 3, which is you're in therapy, you have your medicine, you're stable, and you just need a little bit of nature, healing in nature, and that's where I come in. So you come. Veterans can come stay 6 to 8 weeks. We're going to have a building set up for that. And yeah, it's our thing is replenishment around shipmates. We're a Navy-based thing. I was in the Navy. It's just our thing. There's lots of artifacts, memorabilia around, break the ice for people. And but Army, Air Force, and first responders are all welcome. So yes.
And clearly, once folks are starting to transition, and there aren't the support services necessary to support that, why we have nonprofits such as yourselves, correct?
Correct. It's just something that it's not government funded. There's not a lot of money out there given to nonprofits. So while we partner with a charity and nonprofit is so that the donors can get a receipt for their contributions as well.
And what are the biggest challenges that the veterans are facing when they come back home?
Well, that's a loaded question. It might have a long answer, but we'll try to keep it short. You know, like primarily, when you say the word soldier, often we'll think of combat with the recent conflicts. So the brain gets trained to go to war. My background is in an army and combat engineer, and I've been to Afghanistan a few times. So that trained brain, when you try to take it out of conflict and fighting a war and seeing death and come back to Canada and relive and live a normal life, there's no one untraining that and showing you how to live again. Trauma gets you released from the military, and then what happens? Where do we go? What pills do we take? What medicine do we take? What treatment is working? Like we didn't have a clue. I took 9 pills a day. It was the wrong direction, but it was what was given. Pills don't work. They don't take away the pain. They don't help with the trauma. They just really put you on a downward spiral. So how can you do therapy and all these treatments when you're feeling like a zombie on a pile of pharmaceuticals? So that's the first problem when you get back. You have a trauma and no one's really got an effective treatment plan for you. And you're a soldier told to suck it up. You're not allowed to take a knee and be weak. That's not cool. So that's the first problem.
Which suggests there's more?
Yeah, there's definitely more. A dangerous problem is that you must try and fail pharmaceutical treatment before we're allowed to go on to plant therapy. And that is absolutely harmful. I lived it. I almost lost my life amongst a bunch that already did. 22 a day in the States on average. Sometimes it's 28 a day. You know, you guys got 6,000 soldiers a year taking their lives. How come the alarm bells aren't going off? Because you must try pills first and fail. And that is killing people. And I don't say that lightly.
And how do we change that?
So we've created, like Trent just said, a Pillar 3. We've created a 4-pillar system over a decade of doing this and battle testing and figuring out what works and what doesn't. So the first is getting on the right medicine. So pharmaceuticals don't work for PTS or PTSD, call it what you want, but trauma's trauma, and pharmaceuticals don't work for that. So getting on plant medicine, specifically cannabis, and the reason medical cannabis is because there's an endocannabinoid system in the brain. And talk about science for a second. There's 3 receptors that were deficient with trauma: anandamide, 2-AG, and CB1. It's measurable under a PET scan. When we use cannabis and smoke our joint here, it replaces those receptors to a normal looking brain. And we say we feel normal for a few hours because that's what's happening in the brain. There is no pill that passes the blood-brain barrier to give you that receptor relief. So to take pills for trauma is hurting people, and it doesn't even replace the receptor deficiency, the right Band-Aid for the symptom first. That's pillar 1. Now that I'm feeling normal and we're relaxed and we medicated, now I'm ready for therapy. Now sit me in the chair and talk about your EMDR, your CBT, or your timeline therapy, or go back to the root cause. And that's where you're going to progress and get better in pillar 2. Okay, so in Canada, our medicine's paid for. We're very grateful that medical cannabis, $8.50 a gram, 3 grams a day, it's paid for. So we can now sit in the therapy seat and talk to the therapist and do pillar 2 and get down to what the root cause of our trauma is. 2007 Easter weekend, all shit. Anyways.
I enjoy therapy now. Look forward to it. Before, because I'm pharmaceuticals, I just lied to get the hell out of there, just get home to my little cave again. That's not living. It's just surviving. That's not what we want to do. We want to live. I put my things. I'm not in combat zones per se. Boarding parties and rescues and Swiss Air just around the corner here. The plane crash in '98. That kind of stuff for me. Bosnia, patrols offshore Bosnia. But I'll put it into where serving members can remember and can realize, can appreciate this, is the day you hand in your ID card and your dog tags and stuff, and you get in your car and you drive out that gate, you never feel so alone in your life, because now everything's over and there's no going back. Now you have a civilian therapist that you go to, she gets her money or whatever. It's not the same. That community, that brotherhood just pretty much vanishes, and you do feel alone, and our guys realize that. So that's why I like what I'm doing. I feel a sense of purpose now again. I started this pillar 3. Fabian saved my life. Came to him, I was a mess. I wasn't doing my cannabis right. I wasn't doing therapy correct. And he just told me, no bullshit. He said, this is what you got to do. You got to do cannabis right. You got to do therapy. You got to get back into society. So next morning I got up and smoked pink kush and threw up in the toilet. But wow, my brain was like, wow, that's weird. I don't feel anger. I don't feel pain. I don't feel, I feel normal per se. And from then there, I was, he called me A+ student. I was, whatever he says goes. And my life has changed full 180. 2 years later, and I have a pillar 3 retreat that veterans come to, and I share this knowledge and share his knowledge. And there you go. That's the whole point.
So Mike, this is like, so I've been doing this 10 years, like I said, thousands of patients. You can see when someone's an A+ student, let's say, there's a couple of them out there. And if you can gear their trauma and use that energy in the right direction, it's amazing what they can get done, what we can get done, what trauma can be an accelerant to growth versus a downward goddamn spiral. And this is our evidence of that. We have evidence. Like, we can go back and do all the research we want, but we have it right here in front of us. And this is what's working. Okay, so pillar 3 is the nonprofits. He found what's working, the medicine, the treatment. He's stable. His spouse is right there. Mine's in there. They're happy. We go to therapy. We use our medicine, and we just want to be of service still because we have something to offer. And that's land-based healing, yoga, hiking, meditation, songwriting camps. We do all kinds of stuff. Okay, so yeah, there's Navy, Air Force, Army, blah, 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 but trauma's trauma. And if you follow this roadmap, you will get better. Now, pillar 4 is supporting Trent, supporting the people that are opening nonprofits. How do I do this? How do I set it up? How do I partner with your charity? How do I not get this huge tax bill and all this issues? And how do we raise money? And, there's a bunch of structure that goes along. And for an A+ student, they just do the steps and click it together, and he's operating his own offering to people, right?
And why doesn't this exist? Why is it taking so long for some people like you to recognize
Well,
this and build this?
there's a couple of reasons that. One reason is the education on cannabis and doctors and medical professionals. They're not really taught this in their profession. They kind of got to go explore it. So there's been a holdup with who prescribes and who educates. That's now progressing, but that was part of the problem, is the education. The other part is that the plant's been locked up since the 20s or 30s, like it's some harmful thing, and I've never used it. I was into my 30s thinking, like, charge the motherfucker if he smokes pot, like, pardon my language, but that's, as a sergeant in the Canadian military, you don't use cannabis. And this was a lie. Basically, I felt like I was lied to my whole life. And there's an endocannabinoid system. What the hell do you mean? There's over 100 cannabinoids in this beautiful female plant that has the knowledge is in through her, right? And if you use her right and treat her right, she'll return it in tenfold.
Yeah, and you know, one of the key challenges is that, like, you are taught not to use cannabis, but somehow it's socially acceptable to drink.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, and the doctors are more than happy to prescribe opioids, which, as you've evidenced, doesn't work.
Right.
You know, so one of the challenges, without presenting the cannabis solution, people are led down, you know, are either left to self-medicate or to rely on opiates.
Right. Harmful. Like the choice one that they offer is very harmful. And that's, I mean, if you're going to take a look at that and adjust it, you're talking about big pharma and really wealthy people. And, you know, that's why Pfizer bought a $6 billion cannabis company recently, because, you know, they know that we have option B and we're allowed to choose option B. So they, you know, probably are getting ready for that, because patients have rights. But doctors don't have rights. You must try and fail pharmaceuticals before they will pay for plant medicine.
So, you know, if I'm somebody who's recently separated and I'm having challenges, how do I find out about you? And how do I find out about these programs?
You know, vfhg.ca is one website. rasvets.ca.
Yeah, rasvets.ca.
I mean, you guys are going out into the community and advocating and prophesizing.
Absolutely. We have a patient tracking software we're launching that's Health Canada compliant. We have our own license to grow cannabis, a license to grow psilocybin from Health Canada. We have a couple hundred patients. We have our Veterans for Healing brand in the medical market now. Yeah, we're doing things.
And one of the challenges with Western medicine is this idea of we need evidence-based, you know, trials. So you guys are making advances, you're doing great things, but, you know, how do we collect the data on that and continue to measure it so that, you know, we can use it as evidence-based?
Right. So we've partnered with Aquilitas, they're a medicine provider, and we're going to be doing research through those guys with, including Sue Sicily, who's from the States. I don't know if you've heard her name before, but she's a participant. And we'll use our patient data, their phenotype and genetics profiling, and together over time, this takes time and money, but because it's precision cannabis. It's not like it's to the 2 decimal point. It's a terpene profile. It's not just get high. It has nothing. It's not about that.
And it also has to be tailored to the individual to some degree, right?
Right. And it's complex when you're talking about complex trauma, but then there's other injuries on top of that. And then there's a family unit. It's very complex. You know, you need a real robust treatment plan, not a prescription of pharmaceuticals and go to your nearest operational stress injury clinic. That's not working.
So again, you know, because they don't know to go look for RAS, how do people find you? How, you know, if I am, you know, suffering, how do I find you?
Well, we're on Facebook as well.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
There's a website and word of mouth, really.
We're not in a rush to blow this up and show everybody, because we don't have the resources to handle thousands of people calling us.
I get that, but clearly there's people in need, right? And like you said, they're going down a path that, you know, either isn't working or is dangerous, right? They're self-medicating, and that's
Right.
worse.
What we're trying to do is create a model, a 4-pillar model in the province of Nova Scotia that anybody can adopt anywhere.
Okay.
You know, we can't go save everybody, but
Right.
we can show you something that's working that we've been doing. And if you follow these 4 pillars and you set it up in your country or your state or your province, you're likely going to have the same success.
And you mentioned these A+ students like Trent behind
So
you.
Jared Pond in Arizona, he's a Marine. I partnered with him. If you look up Jeff Rose Botanicals, he's doing great things. If you look up the Santa Cruz Veteran Alliance and Aaron Newsom, I've been down there a few times and done work with those guys, and Balanced Veteran Network. If you look up Ron Millward, look up Steve Elmore, done a documentary called Unprescribed. It's all the guys not getting it. So we have partnerships with a few groups in the States already. So we are raising awareness, but you know, you can't go too fast and poke too hard at the bear because they'll bite you right in the.
But there are resources out there that folks can look for if they're, you know.
Absolutely. And I'd start with like Veterans for Healing, basically, and then it goes out from there.
And when folks are going to sort of traditional veteran resources, are they recommending you? Like if they go to the VA, will they hear about this or they still won't talk about it?
Well, the VA in the Canadian VA, yes.
Okay.
The American,
not in the US, but yeah.
And there's still some states you're going to lose your pension if you even talk about cannabis. So that's archaic.
Yeah.
You know, I feel bad for you guys, man, and that's why I've been down to the States many times and trying to promote this model and give it to the guys and adopt this and do it and help them, because you know we're doing the work, we're doing it here. It's already set up here, so it's just like share this model with other people who are motivated like we are, and that's how the plants are winning. Through the plants, people's brains are opening, their hearts are opening, the egos are getting crushed, and we can get down to the work.
And so if people are watching it and they're liking what you're doing, how can they help?
They could donate. I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? Everybody, the hardest part is raising finances to execute because government's not paying for this part. So donate to a charity, whether it's ours or an American charity that's doing a similar work. That's one way. You know, or getting a hold of us and wanting to learn more about how we operate, we're willing to share that as well. Yeah, that's another way.
And so we will make sure to put the links to your respective organizations down below so that folks can find you and look for you. We definitely appreciate the work that you guys are doing and realize how important it is, because we see that the alternatives clearly are not working.
No.
So, you know, we appreciate the work that you're doing. Keep doing the good work. We'd love to circle back around in 6 months and a year and get an update and see how things are going.
We're doing events planned on the books and concerts and song camps and gatherings, and 6 and 12 months from now will look different, and 5 years from now it's going to be kind of funny, I think.
And all those events are on the website, right?
Yeah,
are listed on the website. Okay,
You'll
cool. Well, gentlemen, again, we appreciate your time, and we look forward to some exciting things. We will circle back around because we're going to check up on you guys. Make sure stay out of trouble.
Hi, man.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good day.
Cheers. Take care.
Take care.
Okay.